decided if we're gonna do it on TikTok or if we're gonna do it on here yet.
Okay.
But we're talking about maybe doing them on a Saturday nights sometime.
Sure.
We haven't
Either
got
way
it.
would be good, I think, John.
Yeah, but I'm thinking of maybe doing Facebook Live with her just because she's better with Facebook Live
Sure.
and TikTok Live. You
Yeah.
know, I love TikTok. Don't get me wrong, I love it, but it's just so restrictive right now. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
All right. So
Oh,
James and Andrea should be coming along here, guys. But welcome to Testosterone Tuesday. And we've got a lot of ground to cover tonight. So if you're watching this now, grab a pen and paper or something you can write on. If you want to write on your tablecloth, that's fine. But first things first. I don't have a medical degree, and I didn't say how they select last night, so I can't even pretend to be a doctor. I don't sell prescriptions. I'm making no medical claims tonight. If you want a medical claim, go watch a TV commercial for 45 seconds, get all the commercials and side effects. We're talking about evidence tonight. We're talking about absolute live evidence with living people that, in essence, we shouldn't be alive. The three of us should not even be here. But we are. We're going to share what we're doing and our evidence. And we're talking with our buddy Keith and John and our new friend Gary, and maybe Andrea and James will show up because we're going to talk about one brutal. And I didn't know about this, guys, and you guys lived it. And it's terrifying. It's a common denominator. If it was just once, yeah, okay, anomaly. Two, well, but three, independent, geographic. I mean, no, you guys aren't related. There's, you're humans and you're nice guys, and none of you have hair. I guess that's a common denominator. But this diabetic foot ulcer. I mean, we've got, and if Andrea comes on, that'll be her dad's story. And so, until something's changing, there's going to be a direct consequence of how these wounds are, how they heal, don't heal. We're going to talk about the underlying things that you guys have done to change and deal with them, because they go away sort of, they heal faster. They're still kind of there, but they're going away in ways that never, and your specialists have told you all, at least as you related to me, shouldn't have happened in the timeline it happened. So before you look at the actual mechanics of why our body stalls out, let's have a quick 60-second reset to check our daily baseline. So what's one thing that you guys now do daily that you didn't do before? And we'll start with John, because you were first on the scene with the full story.
well, the thing I do now that I never did before, fasting.
Fasting.
I did a little bit of fasting before, but I didn't realize I was doing it. I would just get to the point where, like, okay, it's time to eat. I'm hungry, but I'm busy at work, or I'm busy at this. So I just like, I'll get to it and I'll get to it. And the next thing I know, 12 hours go by and I haven't ate. But the thing is I was very irritable and cranky because I didn't realize that was causing my issues. And everybody's just like, it's just because you haven't ate. So I'm like, yeah. Now that I know, I didn't eat. Yeah, I got cranky. But now, since learning that, I go 24 hours, 30 hours all the time without eating and not have an issue.
All
so,
right. Fasting is number one for John. Keith, what's one thing that you've done now that there's a daily thing that you didn't do before this whole the foot thing?
I would have to kind of go along the lines with John. Fasting is definitely something I had no idea what I was doing prior to this, just how much damage it was doing internally until I started having life-altering issues that thank God I was able to reverse. But I think fasting and a lot more paying attention to what I'm eating a little bit better.
All right, Craig, what's one thing that you do daily now that you didn't do before you had this issue?
Yeah, I would go with the second thing that Keith had said was really I really watched kind of what I'm eating. I didn't understand kind of what the food types of food I was eating was really doing to my body. And that got real serious real fast, when I really started to see because of the situation. Um, I had to really start watching that a little bit more, or a lot more. I'm not perfect or anything like that, but I just
Sure.
was noticing, what I was eating, and I had to adjust that a little bit.
Okay. And Andrea, welcome to the group. Hey, James, good seeing you, buddy. Hope your fishing went well today. I know Andrea was by the pool, she said. So, and
He
you
was
don't
by
look.
the pool with me today.
Oh,
He wasn't fishing. We were by
oh,
the pool together, taking some good time together.
there you go. And Andrea, it's great because you and I got the memo that we need hair. The rest of these people, we don't know what's going on. So what's one thing that you've added before your foot situation and after your foot situation? And then if you can plug into what has dad changed, if anything?
Yeah, well, and the foot situation happened with my dad. And we had literally no idea that he had a wound on his toe because if you looked at the wound, it was a little bit bigger than the size of a pencil, but it went clear to the bone. And he had no pulse in that foot, and we didn't know. It wasn't really discolored or very little pulse, let's say. And so something that's changed, you know, now I am more aware of how resilient the body is. I see that if we can just fill in some of those missing pieces, which is what we've done, the body will do the work, even if we're not perfect at it. We just have to give it that fighting chance. And something that we've changed is we've tried to make sure for him, now he's 81, that he starts off with protein. And that has been a switch in what he eats first. And because he likes his cereal and he still does. He's not perfect in this at all. I wish we could switch a few more things, but we saved the toe.
Okay, great. So here's a question. How did you when this ulcer or swoon, wound, whatever you call it what you call it, how did you first become aware of? Now, some of you have had more than one, some of you have only had one. How did you first become aware of it, and what did you feel like? Were you like, oh, this is cool or interesting, or was there fear, or where did it take you, and how did you first know it? And John, we'll start again with you. We just gotta keep the same sequence.
Sorry, I was on Facebook trying to share the live. Now with my foot ulcers, what it got me to really realize is the information I thought I knew about like open wounds for diabetics was incorrect. I was always taught, you got to keep keep the wound moist, keep the silver cream in there, and keep this, because that way you keep the bacteria out and all this. When I come to realize that doing that just made it worse. When I first started seeing my podiatrist that I'm seeing now, when I first started seeing him, he's like, "Tell me, don't use those silver creams. Don't use this. And you want the wound dry." And so once I started listening to him doing his advice, it was like 1,000% difference in the way my foot healed. But what I didn't realize too was because of my diabetes, because of my metabolic dysfunction, the healing was a slow process.
And how long were you diagnosed as a diabetic, a type 2, right? Or you're just type 2?
Ironically, I was diagnosed for 25 years, almost to the date, almost.
But before you got your first wound?
Nah, from the time I got diagnosed at 21 to the first time I had my first wound, I was probably 18, 19 years as a diabetic.
1890. So it took that long to develop. And how did you first notice? What was it sore? Did you just wake up and your foot was falling off? I mean, what is it like? I don't know.
I actually got home from the police academy that night, and my feet ached a little bit because we're running in our doo-doo boots and all that kind of stuff. So I'm just over here getting ready to take my boots off, socks off, getting the lotion on my feet, and all that. And as I'm applying the lotion, just kind of massaging on the bottom part of my foot. it felt soft, and all of a sudden it popped. And when it popped, just a bunch of pus came out. And at
So it's
that
like a
time,
blister. So it's like
yeah, it was
literally
a
like
blister, but you couldn't see it because it was so deep inside the foot. When it finally popped and broke open, all that pus came out. You can actually see tunnels shooting down around the bones of my feet.
holy cannoli.
Yeah, it had 5 tunnels shooting around the
Keith,
bones.
was that
and all
like yours? Was that kind of how does this? I mean, I'm terrified now.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that like my very first one was probably not as bad as Keith's, but it was almost as bad as Keith's. Yes, but that one took 18 months to heal, and then it went by about another year or two after that is when I got the second one, and that's the one I started documenting, started having pictures of, and that's the one you see of, and all that. But the thing is that second one took me almost 2 years to heal, on and off. So, I hear all the time from people, if you just take better care of your feet, you wouldn't have this problem. Yeah, well, you know what? I got 3 gentlemen here I know that did the same thing I did. We probably washed our feet like a hawk and like made sure we're always covered, make sure we're doing this, make sure we're doing that. But yet, to no avail, it still happened.
Okay.
So,
all right. Well, Keith, how did you notice yours? How long were you diabetic? How did this all come about for you?
I was diabetic for 25 years, and probably like John, 18 to 20 years of that before it really became a foot issue. And how I found my first one, I was in the shower, and I went downstairs, and I was like John, putting lotion on my legs and whatnot, and all of a sudden the callus behind my big toe just kind of laid open, and I was like, huh, that's interesting. Didn't think much of it. And my daughter looked at it and goes, that's bad. And I went, oh, okay. Didn't think, I really had no idea. And my doctor said, no, you need to get here like now. So the following morning I went directly to her, and then I went directly from her up to Rockford to my foot doctor at the time, my very first one, and it looked a lot like John's when they found it. I mean, I was in a boot, combined between all 3 foot wounds. I was in a boot for over 4 years trying to get it to heal. And when that one healed, that caused the surgery, which then took the weight off the ball of my foot, which then transferred it to the outside of my foot and caused a smaller one there. And then obviously the notorious one that I got last almost a year and a half ago now. That
So as I'm listening to this, as I'm listening, you guys, it's not like I had a foot ulcer or I had a blister.
I've had 3.
It's like you're at foot blister smorgasbord. I mean,
Yes.
it's like another helping, and but let me go back and Craig, I'm coming to you in a second, and then Andrea, you guys get it too. Like, I'm sorry, but prior to the formation of the blister, were you wearing special socks or anything at all?
I was.
John, you were?
I was wearing
Like
diabetic compression socks.
Yep. Compression socks.
I was not. I had no clue just how grave a situation it was.
Now,
okay.
Let me reiterate on that. Actually, the very first time, no, I was just my normal duty boots, normal work socks. After that, yes, diabetic custom shoes, diabetic compression socks, all that kind of stuff. Yes.
I still to this day, George, wear special inserts
in your shoes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Craig, what about you? How did your epiphany? How long were you diabetic, and how did it ever come up? And I've got a question to all you guys. And you can think about this one too. Like, were you guys doing your own toenails, or you having pedicures done before this, or afterwards, or no?
I did my own at first, but then when I started having problems, I had my podiatrist do it all.
Yeah. same for me, George.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right, Craig, how did you first become aware and
Yeah, it was interesting. Go back maybe 12 years ago, and I briefly mentioned to you earlier, my son had an accident. He fell off his bunk bed and landed on his head on the hardwood. And that was a sight to see, just a pool of blood. And it was scary. And we got him to the emergency room at the children's hospital. The ambulance took him there. They wanted to take him there because they were worried about him. And thank God everything was fine. And they actually didn't even understand why he was fine. He should have had this, and that. But I will tell you, that was a scary moment. And I was having like nightmares for a couple nights. I just was like, because I kept seeing that scenario. And I went into the doctor just to say, hey, I'm just not feeling right. Uh, and I told them the story, and and they were trying to figure that out. But then the one doctor said, hey, listen, and I was had gained a lot of weight, and he said, I want to do a test on you. And he tested me that day. I went there for something different. He tested me and said, hey, you're diabetic, and led me to a doctor, right away in the next day or so. But I really knew nothing about it. And so that was about 12 years ago. The wound that I received or that I got was maybe a year ago. I've had it for about a year. And to put it mildly, I had no clue. I just thought I had a wound. Just I just dealt with it. I didn't think anything of it. It was kind of bothering me, but then lots of days I was working, I was doing whatever, I was walking, but it got, progressively worse. And then I started to get concerned. I said, I don't even know what this is. And just knowing that, um, as a type 2, it just wasn't healing properly. And I could just see it in little cuts on my leg, or something little just would take forever to heal. But I'm the novice, knew nothing, honestly knew nothing, and wasn't really thinking of it. Uh, and I just I don't even know how to explain it. Like
so
when
was it on the
even
bottom of your foot, top of your foot, side, between the toes,
bottom of my
bottom of your foot?
foot, and I just thought I stepped on some. I didn't know why or anything. I didn't have any clue, and I just kind of said I'll just deal with it and wasn't worried about it. And then it got real serious real fast.
Was it
So
an open wound or just a
yeah,
blister or
yeah, open wound. And I don't, what did I put my head in the sand? Maybe I don't, because I didn't know what was going on. I just thought it's not healing, but I was functioning, I thought, and ended up being a really tough situation.
so you duct taped it for a while?
I, you could say
You were
that.
duct taping it. You're the river in Egypt denial. I get it. Okay.
Yeah.
And so when you finally went about a year ago or so, was an open wound then? Was it a
Well, it's
like
when I noticed the wound was about a year ago,
okay?
and I didn't do anything with it until I ended up in the emergency room three months ago.
So that
So I
was the
had it for,
full stop. That was a full
yeah,
stop, like Keith's then.
yeah,
And
that was a bad situation for sure.
okay, Andrea, I know that you were very unhappy at one time because you couldn't wear your sandals, and
Well,
right.
yeah. Yeah, I forgot about that foot injury. I was never a diabetic, but I had a foot injury. I have a Great Dane that weighs more than I do, and literally she stepped on the back of my flip-flop, and when I went forward, I don't know if it tore ligaments. James thinks I broke bones. I don't know. But I couldn't wear shoes, flip-flops, couldn't walk the block for the longest time until I started this system, never expecting that it was full of inflammation. It didn't look it on the outside, but the inside was a totally different story. And so started the protocol. There's so many aha moments that happen when all of a sudden you don't have the pain and you're like, oh my goodness, I forgot about that. how am I doing? I'm wearing my flip-flops. I'm walking the block. And that's like with Dad. We took Dad to the podiatrist to get his toenails worked on. I don't know if you guys had like your toenails had like a fungus. That's why we took Dad. And that was our whole intention for being there. And the podiatrist, first thing he does is he sees this spot on Dad's top of Dad's toe, and he's like, "Oh, that's a problem." He's digging it out to the bone. Dad does not feel it at all. And I'm sitting there like, "There's what?" He does not feel it. But George, the crazy thing was, Dad's A1C was 4.8. He was not considered a type 2 diabetic. He had all
Certainly.
the signs of insulin resistance, but his A1C was, if you're just looking at his A1C, it was fine. So, but there was definitely other signs there. And I did ask the physician, can we, because I knew enough then at that point just to kind of be dangerous. His first thing was, we need to remove this toe. It's infected to the bone. We can have this done within 2 weeks. And I'm like, oh, holy cow, wait a minute. If we do that, I know where we're headed, and no, we got to make some changes first because I know what the body can do. It was created to heal. We're just missing some pieces. What do we need to fill in? What do we need to fix in that gap or eliminate? And what do we need to add? And but I did ask him, can you write for a fasting insulin? We need to know what that is. And bless his heart, he couldn't even write for it. He pulled up his computer, looked for it, couldn't even order a fasting insulin. And that is concerning to me. We're going in, we're having these parts removed when we can support them. You've got testimonies here of the resiliency of the body.
Right.
But we
Absolutely.
don't really know what's going on. And if we would just check that, everybody needs to have that checked. It needs to be across the board. You get your fasting insulin checked.
Right. It's
Regardless.
really, that fasting insulin is an important thing. And just on that take is that people that join our mission, have the ability for $35 to get a full battery, including a fasting insulin, and ask your doctor as if they can do that for you for any price, and they'll say no. The majority of them will absolutely say no. You can get a full blood panel with us for $35, including a free body scan. Did I say free? I did say free, yes. A free body scan, as well as having some of the other better results of things we're doing. But it is amazing, isn't it, guys, that oftentimes the first thing that they want to do, and we love doctors because that's why we're alive, right? Still, but the first thing they want to do is cut, medicate, cut. It's one of those. It's like with Cheryl. I was on an appointment with her to an endocrinologist, and the first time I met this lady, this doctor, she walks in the room, the door hadn't closed behind her. She said, "Good morning." The door still hadn't closed, and says, "When do you want it cut out?" I'm like, what? I'm going like, Cheryl's freaking out, and I'm going like, can I have a large fry with that? I mean, what the heck? It's like, give me a break. Come on, So that type of thing. It's just like with James. I mean, you had that Widowmaker, right? And they wanted you to cut your cholesterol to zero.
The doctor honestly told us that, yes.
I about fell off the chair. And this was a physician that we had really respected and, listened to. And when he told us that, there again, I knew enough of, oh my gosh, our body you will have Alzheimer's, you will be in dementia, what are we looking towards if that's what we do? So it's not always easy becoming your own health advocate, but it's something that you have. If you don't, you will stay in a system that just keeps adding and adding and adding, and it's not necessarily adding health and life to your years. You might extend your lifespan, but you're not going to extend your health span unless we take our health back, literally.
Yeah, absolutely true. John, let me ask a question. Let's clear up this mystery. Why do wounds stall in healing for most people? Why does that healing stall?
For most people, I couldn't tell you. I know for me, it's because of my neuropathy. Um, I was getting neuropathy from my type 2 diabetes. My doctor was always like, it's poor circulation. It wasn't poor circulation because every time I saw the doctor, he would score my foot or he would do whatever, and it would bleed like a sieve. So I clearly had circulation. Mine was neuropathy. I literally, when I was getting ready for the surgery, like if I don't know if you guys see my TikTok profile, but I got my pinned video there. It's actually footage of the surgery for my foot from the second foot ulcer. And before I'm getting in the pre-op room, the anesthesiologist was talking to me about what anesthesia. I'm like, dude, you don't need any anesthesia. He's like, no, you got to because you're in surgery. I'm like, no, you don't. The whole time he is poking the wound with a scalpel as he's talking to me. And I couldn't feel it. And this is a big old hole about that big in my foot that he's about knuckle deep, with the scalpel poking to the point it's bleeding. And I'm talking to him the whole time. Like, I don't need any anesthesia. He said, well, you have to have it to knock you out. I'm like, okay, that I can agree with, but I don't need no local anesthesia around the wound. I don't need none of that and then finally he's like, okay, I got to admit though, the whole time we're talking to you, I've been poking you with this scalpel and you haven't flinched or jumped. I'm like, yeah, I can't feel it. That's how bad my neuropathy was. And yes, today I'm still dealing with neuropathy, but it's not as bad as what it used to be. Like my neuropathy was so bad, it was up halfway up my leg. So I that's how bad it was. Now I got the feeling in my legs again. It's down around my feet. It's actually the feeling's coming in around the bottom part of my foot where they're right above below the arch. So yeah, the first part of my feet from the toes and the ball are still numb, but compared to what it was a year ago, hands down, I'll take it. Because a year ago, my whole leg, both feet, all the way up to like mid calf, was numb all the way. So,
John or Keith, what was about your side? Did you have surgery too on top of the episode, or how was yours addressed?
Mine was like John's. A lot of it was neuropathy. Although I did have some slight uh, flow problems, blood flow, circulation, um, and that's what when mine turned around. I got the pulse back in my feet that I hadn't had in quite a while, longer than I even know. But he did the same thing. He would trim and work on it, and I never felt it. And it's gotten to the point now where last time I saw my doctor right before I moved, I went in to see him because I was feeling pain in my foot, and he said, "No, that's a good thing. You should be feeling pain." I'm like, "Okay, well, it was a new sensation for me."
Okay.
And so yeah, once everything, I mean, my neuropathy is, I want to say 98, 99% gone.
Okay.
And it was pretty rough. I mean, where it just like walking on pins and needles all the
Okay.
time.
Now, Craig, you're new to this. Does this resonate with you? Are you in and out of the woods? Where are you at within there?
Yeah, well, it definitely resonates, in layman's term, you guys just understand so much more than I do. It wasn't healing like it used to. And it was almost as simple as that. Like I was like, what is going on? Like it just wasn't healing like it did when I was younger, but I still didn't put two and two together. Um, like, cause I kind of thought I had it figured out, like I had lost a lot of weight, the previous several years and was feeling a little better, but, uh, that wound was telling me something's not right because it's still not healed. And I just have never had that issue. And then when I went into to the emergency room, they were like, "What are you doing? Like, why weren't you here? Like I said, a year ago or 6 months ago, um, and it was just out of like just not knowing. But I do think that there are a lot of people out there like me that just don't understand it and really maybe not taking the time to figure it out, or not even knowing what to look up to figure it out. You know, it was a wake up call to say the least. Yeah. And so after I had neuropathy for sure, had trouble sleeping, but it would kind of go in and out. And then when I finally had a wound specialist, foot doctor, she had to actually open the top of my foot. So I had the hole on the bottom of my foot, but it was so bad that she needed to open the top of my foot. And that was not fun.
So we had top and bottom. We had to go.
So that the infection could drain. It wasn't draining properly. And she goes, you have to go to the hospital, right? Back to the hospital right now. And I must have said, are you serious? Like I was not, I was kind of nervous about that. And she goes, well, just hold on a second. And actually did a minor operation right there on the spot. And I did feel that. That one hurt. You know, but she said, so you don't have to go to the hospital now. I said, okay. But I was seeing her every other day for a while. You know, she took it very seriously.
Now,
So she was
Keith,
great.
you were in a hyperbaric chamber at one point
Yeah.
or other, right? Keith,
Yep.
did you ever go that, have to go that route?
The original foot wound, yes. I do have a pin in my foot where because there was too much pressure right behind the big toe. So they took the bone and kind of tilted it up and then repinned it. So it wasn't so pointed at the one side. But yeah, I was in hyperbaric chamber for 2 months. Every single day of the week. I'd drive 45 minutes, lay in a tube for an hour, drive home.
And John, did you have to do that at all with either one of yours?
No, I never did the hyperbaric chamber. My podiatrist talked about maybe trying it to see, but then the antibiotics I was taking actually started working and it got rid of the infection. So we never got down that road. I was on the road to it, but I never actually, no.
And Craig, you're just brand new to the whole scene. Have you had that discussion at all?
No, not at all. I'm happy to say that the protocol has helped me. In fact, I had an appointment today that my foot is A-okay, back to normal.
Oh, good. Awesome. Love it.
Yeah.
Lessons there. Absolutely. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And Andrea, how's your dad doing? What have we changed for him? Has he changed? I mean, he's 80. I get it. Okay. I'm 74. Okay. So I get to be almost as stubborn as, well, not yet, but soon I will get to be, right? You guys have to put up with that. But anyway, has he been able to adjust on purpose?
Yeah, we've definitely made some changes. And, you know, one of the things I love is now you even clip his toenails, he's yelling at you. He has his feeling back. He has the pulse came back he had no pulse. And the doctor was like, what are you doing? You know, that your pulse is back. I think that was maybe one of the first things that we started noticing, because every time we would go in every week, they would clean it out again. So it's like, okay. And we were doing what they told us to do. And I wish we would have known maybe a little better or been willing to say, hey, we're not going to put all that junk on there. You know, anyway, his foot healed. So the body is so resilient. And
Perfect.
Yeah, but he feels the pain, which is a good thing, because if you don't feel it, then you're kind of you can abuse it. So he definitely knows that it's there. He feels it, and you know his toes, they look more normal than they have in years. So I'm so thankful for that. Changed up some of the diet. He loves the fiber. I think he could drink it all day long. Loves it. So you know, it's just, and cognitive function, you know, all of it. When we fix the gut, all of that, everything in our body is supported. It's all connected, and we can't forget that it's all connected.
Yep.
Because we're looking at cells. It's those cells renewing, guys, that's regenerating. And John, I'm believing it's been a year. I'm believing you're going to get that full function back in all of your toes as
Well, I will.
die off and renew. The cells, they generate tissues, organs, organ systems. It's amazing how the body, how resilient it really is.
Guys, I have a question. Just in terms of symptoms. I mean, John and I, we've been hanging around for about a year now already with Andrea and things. And Keith is a newcomer, but Craig definitely is. And I remember a year ago, so John and I were bantering and just chatting, and we both realized we could do our toenails. We could do those types of things. The question I have, hey Jack, I hear you, buddy. The question is, were your toenails ever not pink? Did they turn a different color? I wonder, was there ever any discoloration in your toenails or increased fungus at all?
Yep, I did. The big toe on the foot that wasn't having the wounds had actually almost grown to a point, and it had curled under. And I want to say it was right after I moved down here. I was messing around with it, and the nail underneath of it had grown in, and I picked it right off with my hand. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. But it's totally gone. And it was almost, I don't want to say black, but you could see a noticeable difference in color.
Gray, black color.
Yeah. And it just popped right off.
Okay. And Craig, did you notice anything like that at all?
A little bit, not, I definitely would say a little bit, that I was concerned about that and just trying to figure out how to figure that out, but then the wound took over everything.
Okay. Cause I think you've all been with someone in their final hours or close to it. And if you can see the feet color, you see that cyanotic kind of grayish tone going on the toenails, we know that the time is coming. And I just didn't know if that's a sign or a symptom possibly. I'm just, again, I haven't had that experience and I'm not looking for it, but for people that are listening to this in the future, what would be some is there any warning at all that you had or that you have that you could pass on to somebody that you experienced? Was there any warning at all to this, or is it just Puff the Magic Dragon? Like all of a sudden it's like and I don't know if any of you have had gout, and if you haven't had gout can come on just like that. It's not a warning sign. Sometimes gout can be very transitional. You can feel it and it will move to where it's going to be. But I don't know, is there any kind of warning sign, guys, that you are now thinking back that said, hey, you might want to slow this down?
The only thing I noticed, George, was you start getting the tingling. And you think, okay, my foot fell asleep, no big deal, didn't think much of it. And then it just progressively got worse and worse to where you don't feel it.
Okay.
Yeah, like what Keith's saying, the pins and needles, that's the biggest thing I noticed. And then the other thing with me too was the hard, callous, dry skin. My bottom of my feet would just get dry up and get callous real quick. And I could peel the callus off and it would never affect me. And I just thought maybe, okay, that's just, I'm dry. So I'm trying lotion on, I'm putting this on, and it never got better. It slowly got worse. And then earlier too, like you guys were saying with the toenail fungus, I had all those. My big toe, for the foot that I had the ulcer, my big toenail was black. And it was to the point where I could peel it off and it would grow back. It grew back black. It didn't grow back as a normal toenail. So that is actually coming back normal. I mean, I've been on this protocol 16 months now, and it's starting to grow back normal. So yeah, they're all signs. It's just whether you want to admit it or not. So,
Craig, as the newest champion here, what insight can you lay onto this?
Well, I thought it was a great question, George, because I've really never thought of that, but, looking as as we're talking, I did start to notice that just wounds in general weren't healing as fast as they did before. And and it was now, as you're asking it, I'm like, well, that's true. Like a cut on my hand or on my arm or something like that. It just was taking longer than it ever had, but I just really didn't put two and two together. I didn't think much of it. I was bothered by it. I'm like, that's crazy, but did I go do anything about it? No. So I just really didn't understand that whole connection, I guess would be the word.
And you didn't receive any education about it or awareness about it.
The education that I received 12 years ago was eating, a lot of eating and then medicine and all this stuff. But outside of that, there was no more education. In fact, the eating plan that they were talking about didn't make any sense to me. It was high carb. Um, it was the opposite of what I thought would be right. And so that kind of helped my decision to say, I got to look at this myself. But again, I thought in a lot of ways, I'll just, you know, tell everyone that I thought I'd had figured out a lot of this by losing the weight because I was feeling better. I was, there was a lot of that, but Dr. Kenny said the other day that you thought you were better, but the inside wasn't better. And you didn't really understand that. And that's an understatement. I didn't understand anything. I didn't know that how serious my foot wound until I was in the ICU. I just was dealing with it because I just didn't understand.
And did
And
they put you
so,
in a coma?
what's that?
Did they put you in a coma too or not? When they put you in the ICU?
No, so I went to the emergency room because my foot had swollen up. In fact, it was in my mind, it was just like, I'm not feeling good. That's literally what I said. Because my wife was heading to Florida with my son to a soccer tournament, and she's like, "Do you think I should? I'm gonna cancel the trip. We'll just have someone else take my son." And I said, "Oh, that's crazy. We live in Michigan. It's cold. It's really cold out here." And so I said, "You got to go down there and get some sun. Enjoy it. You guys have a good time. And when you get back, we'll go to urgent care. We'll go check this out." And she goes, "Are you being serious?" I go, "Yeah, I'm just not feeling, there's just something off a little bit. I'll be fine." And my other son was home with me and he walked in and I said, I'm not feeling too good. It was that simple. And he goes, "We need to go to the emergency room," and calls my wife and she says she has to do it. You have to take him. And I kind of looked around and I said, "You know what? Something is wrong. Like, let's go, you know." But I thought I was going to get an antibiotic. I just thought I was sick. I did not know what was going on, honestly. But I still think, I don't know if I'm right or not, but I still think I'm typical like anybody else. I just didn't understand. I go there thinking I'm getting antibiotic. In fact, I was trying to figure out how fast can we get out of here so I can go get something to eat at 11 o'clock at night because I was starving. I was that not serious. And then all of a sudden, the nurse comes in and says, if you would have came tomorrow, you wouldn't be here." I said, "What are you talking about?" And then they brought in all this tests. This is after my blood work. It went from talking to the doctor to a full blown press. Everyone's walking in, everyone's coming in, machines in here, all this stuff. And they're testing at that moment whether they're going to keep my leg or not. And
How
I was,
terrifying is that, guys? You've
yeah,
all
I
faced
just,
that.
I don't even like to talk about it, to be honest with you, because I just didn't understand. And so what happened, I'd got sepsis, DKA, and all this stuff. And she said, "You wouldn't be here tomorrow if you didn't come in tonight." And that was eye-opening. And now I'm, uh, because of this protocol, I'm on a trajectory the opposite way. And so I'm so grateful for it. But yeah, that's really what I knew about foot wounds is nothing.
And now you know more, and you're helping others, and you're educating them the same way as John does, as Keith does. That's great things that Andrea and James do. I mean, there is people literally praying for this information right now because they have no clue, they have no hope, and they have no one that's an advocate. And like we started on the beginning of this isn't about trying to do anything but educate on facts, on real life experience. I mean, that's it. That's it. And these guys, James trying the Widowmaker, I mean, good gravy. And just me too. I mean, that's a whole nother deal. But tonight we're talking about wound and vascular differences. And so that's part of the plumbing. The foot is the extremity of the plumbing. And when it's plugged with sugar, I don't care what you're going to say, when it gets plugged in a rusty pipe, and even like losing weight, it's like a semi. You may have lost the weight because you emptied the back of the trailer, but the oil in the engine is rotted. It's glycated. It's stuck. You got to fix and clear that to be able to haul the next anything, or it totally stops. And for all of you, for James, for John, for Keith, for Craig, and it should have been for me, the stop was the emergency room, the ICU, surgery. And the hope is that through doing these meetings and sharing this information, you can learn from our experience. You can learn and improve because you can improve. There is hope. And so if you know John, if you've met John, contact John. He's on all of the channels. Keith's on all the channels. Craig is coming on to all the channels. James, Andrea, everybody's out there. You look for them on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube. Look up for them on Snapchat. I don't even know where the heck some of these guys are. Like, you come out of the closet and I see you guys again. And I don't mean out of the closet, but you know what I mean. But anyhow, so the thing is that you guys are making a difference. And I love you with everything I can tell you. I love you. You guys do a great job. And thanks for being on tonight's show. I would just say, I'll give you all 1 minute and we got to get off of here. We'll start with John. You got 1 minute to add anything you want to add for the night. Everybody gets a minute. Go, John.
Just remember, you think you have everything prioritized. You know, you got your family life, you got your job, you got your personal goals, you got all this. But the thing is none of it's a priority if your health isn't there. Your health is most important. And believe it or not, I never thought of that until coming across this. And doing this is what made me realize how your health is really a priority. So you may not have issues now. You may think you don't have issues now. I promise you, you do. Look into it. Thanks.
Keith, your minute.
And to piggyback off what John said, you know, just because your car's not broken doesn't mean you don't service it. And I lived it for far too long because of my ignorance. I had no idea. And there is and can be light at that end of the tunnel. You don't have to live that way, and you definitely don't want to wind up living that way. So the time is now.
Great. Craig, you got a minute.
Thank you. George, I would echo what you had said. You know, there was a time 6 months ago that I just didn't know what to do. And I had like zero hope that things were going to turn around because I didn't know what was available. I had no idea that this protocol was even something. And it took the ICU for someone for my brother to actually reach out and say, I want you to look at this. And I was watching Keith on a video, and honestly, tears came to my eyes because I saw someone that was in my similar situation, and he was telling us that things were changing in his life. And I mean, so many things. that I actually am legally blind, and he was telling me that he saw. So he saw better than he did 4 years ago based on what his doctor told him. And I said, 4 years ago, I was driving. And I'm a dad of 4 and I've got a wife. And I said, if only this would work for me. And I took a chance and I did it, and it did. And it's working. And it's unbelievable. I'm so grateful.
We're glad you're with us, buddy. We absolutely love you. All right, the Martins. Who's going first in the Martin household? James.
I guess just what I would like to get the point across to people, and especially men. You know, we'll prioritize everything, our family, our work, everything, except for our health. I mean, it about killed me, you know. I mean, just to put it blatantly, I mean, I just pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed, even though you're talking about the signs, they were all there for me. I look back on it now and, you know, it was all right there, and I ignored it. And I mean, I ignored it to the point that I had about 45 minutes left to live. So, you know, your health is a priority, especially when you start getting up there in age. And, you know, if you dumb it up like I did, you very well could cut that short. But if you just take a little bit of time, you know, to do maintenance on your body, maintenance on your health. You know, we do maintenance on everything else we own, except we ignore our bodies. So my point is you know, especially to the male population, especially those getting some age on them, man, invest some of your time and your interest into your health, so you can be there. You know, you want to see those grandbabies, you want to live a long and healthy life, and you know, sometimes we're our own worst enemy when it comes to that, because we're so, you know, stubborn and I don't know, just
We are not
males. That's what I want to say. Thanks, guys.
Andrea, you can wrap us up here.
Well, George, I want to thank you for inviting us on tonight. And I want to thank each one of you for being on here and sharing. Because as I sit here, I don't want to get emotional. Each one of you could not be here tonight. Seriously, if we look at it, George, type 2, A1C 18.1, blood sugar 843, John, your foot ulcer, you're here with your grandbaby. George, you're here with your grandkids. You know, Keith, your grandbaby. Craig, your kiddos. You get to be here. James gets to be here. And I thank God for this protocol, because he brought it across our paths for a reason. And I truly do believe that. So if you're hearing this tonight, guys, these are stories. These people will help you. They will show you their pictures. If you say, hey, I want to see what you were dealing with, I just need to hear your story. Or my husband needs to hear your story. My brother needs to hear your story. Reach out, because we are a community. We're nothing special. We're more alike than we are different. Our body struggles, and our body can thrive at the same time. We can give it what it needs. And that's what we found in these 2 little packets that we have. Most people haven't heard of it. And we are changing the state of healthcare in the United States and around the world. And we get to be on a mission where daily we see lives change, bodies heal. I think of Cheryl. All of the people that we have connected with. Guys, we hear stories every day of what I consider miracles. So if you need a miracle, if you are still breathing, there is hope. Reach out to whoever. George, thank you. I love each one of you. I'm thankful to be a part of this mission with you in this community, because we are saving lives. That is our motto. We're saving lives in so many ways.
Great. Thank you very much, Andrea. Hey, guys, thank you very much. We'll see you next week. Testosterone Tuesday on guess what day? Tuesday. Bye now. See you on the next
Bye.
call.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.